Hello, everyone. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Radical Exchange Annual Conference. For our next session will be How Much Are the Cookies in the Company Store? I'll turn it over for a recorded video. Begin your session.
Hi, I'm Crystal Good, social media senator for the Digital District of West Virginia, a completely made up but totally real office. I won my office PT, pre-Trump, pre-Cambridge Analytica. I ran Facebook ads, created my own troll, Jack Squat from Apathy, West Virginia, and managed my own election count, and here I am, social media senator for the Digital District of West Virginia. Social media senator was born as an idea to teach political and media literacy through the lens of quantum politics. Quantum politics looks at the interrelationship between quantum and political thinking. My next election will be held by a quadratic voting. Quadratic voting is a method of collective decision-making in which participants vote not just for or against an issue, but also they can express how strongly they feel about it. You're welcome to run against me or for any seat in the Digital Congress. There are many possibilities in quantum politics. As we celebrate Pride Month, we know our world has 63 genders, categories, and counting. We have moved past female or male, Democrat or Republican, like it or not. The office of Social Media Senator for the Digital District of West Virginia is real. Senators call me Senator. And now that I'm an elected official in the United States of America, people ask me, "What have you done, Senator?" And I say, I don't have to do anything but tweet. But folks, it's been hard to be social media senator, representing a district that ranks 47th in America for connectivity, where 30% of my district have zero internet access. People write me letters to ask for broadband. My district also holds 55,000 people who identify as Black. That makes me 1 in 55,000. The hashtag Black Lives Matter gives me connection to the outside world. And as an age-fluid Black woman holding a made-up elected office in Appalachia, I don't exist in the imaginations of America, much less my son in cybersecurity or my transgender daughter. June Jordan, in her on-call political essays, said, "Like a lot of Black women, I have always had to invent the power my freedom requires." And here I am. I'm doing just that. I am an archetype for the many places across the globe who deserve dignity because they exist, and that includes data dignity. I want to tell you a simple story of where I'm from, in Appalachia. Go ahead, say it, Appalachia. Pronounce it correct, or I'll throw this apple at you. I want you to know the story of Appalachia so that we can together remember a future with data dignity. The district I represent, the heart of Appalachia, has a long history of fighting to be compensated fairly with dignity for their labor in the production of coal. The coal industry has created a great generational wealth for many, and for others, simply an identity that is disappearing into the technological landscape. The coal industry has brought large-scale environmental and human consequences as it has fueled the economy. Coal is not an analog analogy, but a war cry for data dignity and a reminder of the environmental hazards. Guess what? Your data is being housed in environmentally hazardous data farms. In a not-so-fair tale, in America's history, when coal miners lived in company towns that were company-owned with no elected officials, no independent police, and no free market competition, the coal miners lived in company houses, shopped exclusively in the company store, which the company stocked with food, fuel, and necessities, all to be sold at the company store. Miners paid for their goods at the company store in scrip. That's the coal company's currency, a currency that miners and their families could only spend on items that the company decided were necessities at the company store in the company town. Imagine if Amazon paid their employees only in Amazon dollars and they could spend those Amazon dollars only in the Amazon store. You get it. Some coal miners were paid in scrip until the 1970s. It's important to note that the yesteryear of coal towns in my district, there were more black miners than anywhere else in the nation. Black workers gained a more equitable footing due to the United Mine Workers' efforts to truly collectively bargain. More on this later. Don't let the hashtag fake news hillbilly elegies fool you. My district is not and never was a homogeneous, all-white region. We are the soul of coal, and I share this not-so-fair tale to remember that hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Black Data Matters, hashtag Black History Matters. We, black folk in Appalachia, exist. I'm proud of my campaign staff, young, black, gifted, Appalachian, and into technology and politics. So, just how much are the cookies in the company store? In the 1920s, everyone shopped at the company store. By everyone, I mean black, white, and first-generation immigrants, although churches and schools were still segregated. From caskets to cookies, we shopped together in the company store and paid for goods with company money scrip. Company stores also housed the company doctor's office and the government post office. The company store was the cultural and community center where people could gather freely. Well, not exactly freely, but they gathered. All life in company towns revolved around the company-owned store. That was also the place where the coal company could listen to employees to prevent unionization. Today, tech companies gather us in collective cultural and community spaces. Big Data's virtual company store. Think of Facebook or any other free social media platform as the benevolent coal company store, and just like the one Whipple company store employee that could hear every conversation in the Whipple company store, they listen. They watch our communications, interests, movements, interactions with each other, emotional reactions, facial expressions, and purchases. In theory, almost everyone is employed by big data. We are all working for them because our data is working for them. It's a commodity being sold. It has a market value, just like coal. And just like coal mining, the data labor job is dangerous work. It's dangerous to our emotional well-being as the platforms enact behavioral modification tactics. They send subliminal messages to manipulate us and concentrate power. Companies are measuring whether individuals change their behaviors as they browse. Social media feeds are constantly tweaked in real time to get the company's desired results. In short, your online behaviors have been turned into a product. Corporate and political clients are lining up to modify and monetize it. We have been tethered to an algorithm, and I assure you, algorithms are biased. We are being tricked into believing that it is free, but really, we are being paid in big data JavaScript that can only be spent in and on networks that the company owns. Company stores had a reputation as monopolistic institutions that funneled workers' incomes back to the owners of the company. We have become a dependent employee in big data's town. We have become complacent and obedient employees, paying high prices to buy the very cookies that we are making for free. These cookies are the files that contain small pieces of data, the ones that say, click here to improve your browsing experience. Each of us generates a significant amount of data each day during the normal course of our activities. Our phones and computers track our movement and actions, while our browsers and websites track our online activities. Your cookies are used to target you with ads, classify the riskiness of your lifestyle, or determine your eligibility for a job. These consumer profiles can lead to race or income-based discrimination. Basically, high-tech version of redlining. Hashtag Black Data Matters. Some tech companies know more about us and our lives and our families and those closest to us. And all that information can and will be used against you. As of now, that data is owned by the people who collect it, and they're allowed to do anything they want with it. The risk can be hard to see, but we are in a monumental, pivotal moment of time where we can see ourselves and what we contribute to ourselves and the economy at large in new ways. We have traded the miner's pick for the computer click. And what does big data do with all this? Click, 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 click. Well, it's actually pretty simple. They take every bit of personal information you have and aggregate it into a huge database and apply all sorts of machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms to track your preferences, web pages you visit, things you shop for, interests you have, and even the places you go, if you have your location services on, and well, most of us do. And this creates a detailed picture of you. That picture is valuable, and it's being sold. You and everyone else is on the cover of Big Data magazine, and you're not being paid. In my district, people tell me they need Facebook and other social media platforms to stay connected with folks, family and friends. People they went to school with, old army buddies, and on and on. For most, the local newspaper is gone, and Facebook is the meeting place. Most have a deep attachment to it. I know, my office is built on social media. It's free, they say. Today, it's fair to say that even without connectivity, my entire district is in Facebook County. Some drive to locations with Wi-Fi just to check their Facebook accounts and other platforms. Everything revolves around Facebook, just like the company store. Nothing is free in the company store. And that's why my office is waving a red flag. If it doesn't cost you anything, then the product is you. The red bandana is a red flag to question big data's benevolent free. But it's also a memory, the reminder of the striking miners that tied red bandanas around their necks during the march on Blair Mountain. In 1921, black, white, and immigrant mine workers took to arms to battle the coal companies that controlled and exploited every aspect of their lives. The West Virginia mine wars were the bloodiest labor conflict in American history. Over the course of 5 days, 10,000 coal miners rebelled. The miners didn't speak the same language or have the same culture, but when they tied the company store issued red bandanas around their necks, they became a brotherhood, seeking to unionize and demand equal pay for blacks and whites and all workers' safety. The miners at the Battle of Blair Mountain enacted a degree of solidarity that was so strong it took 3 regiments of federal troops to stop it. Blair Mountain serves as a testament to the brutal anti-unionization tactics, but also of hope. I tell you this history today after 100 years of suppression in the context of data dignity. And that means data dignity and data rights for black people. Data, too often, has been used as an instrument of oppression, reinforcing inequality and encouraging injustices like predictive policing or risk-based sentencing. It's important to support organizations like Data for Black Lives. Our data is valuable. The lesson of Blair Mountain is that when people come together in a way that genuinely attempts to integrate different struggles, it becomes one of the most powerful social forces for change that can be formed. The miners prove that there's nothing more frightening to a coal boss or corrupt politician than a courageous, united international coalition. For 59 days in 2019, the black jewel miners stood on the train tracks in Harlan, Kentucky, blocking a coal train demanding 3 weeks back pay. Black Jewel, their former employer, filed bankruptcy and left over 1,000 coal miners unpaid. The miners went into protest to be paid for the coal they mined sitting in a train on the train tracks. The miners' rallying cry was, "No pay, no coal." The black jewel miners knew they mined the coal and that they should be paid for that labor. They knew that coal had a value, that without them, that value would not exist. Today, We, the American internet user, should demand payment for the data we mine. Your data is yours. It should be yours even if you loan it to a tech company. And if anyone benefits from it, it should be you. No pay, no data. But, you ask, Senator Good, how? We need a new entity for collective bargaining. A union-like idea similar to what Jaron Lanier and Glenn Weil are calling MIDs, mediators of individual data. MIDs would negotiate payment on behalf of users for small tasks that furnish high-quality data. MIDs is just one idea. There are others. I'm encouraging my district to look into creating a MID. A MID would collect and manage user data, negotiate agreements with firms that specify what data the firms can access, what's permissible and impermissible, set security expectations, and facilitate data royalties for people whose data is being shared. The goal is to reduce data exploitation and share the value fairly. My district knows there is always danger when speaking of a union, even when union-like words come to town, like collective bargaining, especially when the meeting place is the Facebook company's store. It can get dangerous. Remember, the Whipple Company store was designed as a listening device. The building's strange octagon shape was designed as a means to control the workers. The store's one employee could stand dead center in the middle of the store, surrounded by shelves lined with goods, and it became an echo chamber, providing the company with all the intelligence it needed to maintain the upper hand over its workers. The mine wars and the Battle of Blair Mountain were not called a war and a battle because the union and company shook hands at the dinner table. Getting paid for your data will be a fight. Like Mother Jones, the school teacher and dressmaker who became a prominent union organizer, community organizer, and activist, coordinating major strikes and co-founding the industrial workers of the world, said, someday we will have the courage to rise up and strike back at these great giants of industry, and then we will see they weren't giants after all. While we wait for MIDs, or any new entity that can collectively bargain for not only payment, but also our right to know how our data is being used and protected. Today, you can get your data. Join the data union. Support legislation like the California Consumer Privacy Act in your state. Support the Data Bill of Rights like the one U.S. presidential candidate Andrew Yang put forth. These rights include the right to be informed as to what data will be collected and how it will be used, the right to opt out of data collection or sharing, the right to be told if a website has data on you and what that data is, the right to be forgotten. You have all data related to you deleted upon request, the right to be informed if ownership of your data changes hands, the right to be informed of any data breaches, including your information in a timely manner, the right to download all data in a standardized format to port to another platform, and strike. Today, I'm on a Facebook strike. I quit, deactivated, poof, gone, forever, ever, forever, ever, in my outcast voice. Okay. I still have Instagram. I know, it's owned by Facebook, but come on, I'm social media senator. I quit Facebook because I know they are using my data and selling it to the very same data companies that use targeted ads against me, and I don't get a penny for it. It's also a great conversation starter and a way for me to help organizers start to think about organizing both on and off Facebook-owned platforms. This ain't my first strike. I've lived through a few. As a girl, I always knew the miners were getting ready to strike because my aunt started stocking up on RC Cola. You can't strike without RC Cola. And when my former husband and I had our first baby, my ex-husband's a UFCW man, went on strike. As a new mom, I remember the strike being one of the scariest times in my life. But I found comfort in the community and solidarity of people taking care of each other. Union families brought us meals and diapers, and we all stood together for a greater goal. I've been front row at many protests and labor strikes too. most recently the West Virginia teachers' strike, when 20,000 West Virginia teachers set off a national movement. West Virginia teachers packed the West Virginia State Capitol with their bodies, signs, chants, and demands. It was a sight to behold. The teachers went wildcat, which means they went against their own union leaders. The wildcat strike illustrates the long history of tensions between workers and union leaders. It's a three-dimensional chess game. I believe we have enough data to improve options, and a mid is just that. I'm a sixth-generation West Virginian. I'm no stranger to West Virginia's political corruption stories and equally its magnificent solidarity stories. My pastor said, if you see a good fight, get in it. And today, the good fight I see for ourselves and our children is the fight for data rights. Data rights is not just about paying people for their data. Simply paying people for their data will not solve all the data dignity problems. Data dignity requires stronger regulation and data governance solutions as we face privacy violations, surveillance without consent, and manipulation of our attention, behavior, and mental well-being. Again, hashtag Black Data Matters, hashtag Data for Black Lives. The whole world just experienced COVID-19, and guess what? Our data didn't stop working. Data is an essential employee, and you are the data. There is no line in between you. You are your data. Your data is you, the expression of you, that finds its way into a collective. As social media senator, I am part performance art, part edutainment. I travel the interwebs, and when invited, I share my political nada poems. This is not an Obama poem. I live on the Obama fault line. It's dangerous here. The earth could move at any given time, and it's all Obama's fault. My district still believes that former President Obama environmental policies took away their coal jobs. So much so that the current sitting governor of West Virginia announced in a COVID-19 press conference that every U.S. president was welcome in my district but Barack Obama. The truth is, machines had a huge impact on the loss of coal jobs. In 1935, 2% of West Virginia's coal was loaded by machine. 20 years later, 99% was machine loaded. So at first, machines helped miners load more coal. Eventually, they put the majority of miners out of work. Remember the legend of John Henry, the steel-driving man from my district? Oh, he won, all right. He beat the machine, and then he died with a hammer in his hand as his heart gave out from stress. And then there's the death of Alan Turing. Man versus the machine for jobs, jobs, jobs. Be it coal, language translators, telemarketers, bookkeepers, or advertising salespeople. Much like the advertising salesperson I just met with, as it's time to launch my 2020 social media See Good Senator campaign. The salesperson explained to me just how targeted I could be with my demographics, addresses, lifestyle preferences, income, ethnicity, and so on. They told me they were not an advertising company, but a data company. For $1,000 a month, I can penetrate my district with ads asking them to investigate MIDs, mediators of individual data, or data union modules. And that would rally against the very kinds of platforms I'm asking you on. And today, tech giants are developing artificial intelligence that will take away most of the low-skilled jobs in my district. So-called AI is coming for your job, but first, you gotta train them. Walmart is the second largest employer in my district, a hospital system the first. My district doesn't understand that they are offering on-the-job training to AI that can and will do their jobs, all disguised as social media entertainment. Tech firms transform their clicks, their behaviors, as they upload videos, create memes, tweet, or simply like content on various social media platforms. This behavior is used to develop AI, to replace low-skilled jobs. Those activities are a form of labor or work, with a few exceptions. It is unpaid labor. I believe in data dignity. I believe that people should be paid for their labor, but I also believe we are more than our jobs. People have suffered long enough under the guise of hard work. As coal jobs disappear, so have identities. I represent coal country. With less coal to mine and machines that mine, what's left? What's left? A people who start to feel worthless if they feel they are not needed. People who begin to cling and create false narratives about their worth. We need to change our imagination and help people to see beyond the commodification of our lives. I share these not so fair tales as a reminder that when people are treated as mere laborers or passive resources to be mined, we become property. And we aren't property, we are people. You're a person, you exist, you have value. Humanity needs you to be human. My name is Crystal Good. I am Social Media Senator for the Digital District of West Virginia.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Good, Social Media Senator for the Digital District of West Virginia. I hope you enjoyed my video. I want to share that that was put together by one of my campaign staffers, Jonah Dyer, Dyer Visuals in Beckley. He's 18 years old, and he started his first job today driving a forklift, and I'm just real proud of him for expressing his creative talents in that video, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I think he has a bright future in video production. If my office can help find a path for him. So I have a few questions over here. I'll get started with, and the first one, well, first of all, I just want to say how impressed I am that I actually got Anonymous to ask me questions. I hear he's kind of a big deal on the internet. So first question is, super curious to hear my thoughts on Hillbilly Elegy and JD Vance, who presents a picture of a white Appalachia and works for Silicon Valley Venture Capital. Well, I'll tell you, there is a huge contingency of us Appalachians who are very anti-JD Vance, I guess. And I'm part of a book called Appalachian Reckoning, which is an anthology, which is a response to Hillbilly Elegy. And there, I think you will find many voices of Appalachia. It really shows the diversity that exists here. And so I would encourage, anyone that's kind of curious about Appalachia. And it's really the counter to that book, to an all-white narrative, to a pull yourself up by your bootstraps narrative. And I have a couple JD Vance stories, and the most recent one, I did a TED Talk. It's a TEDx in Corbett as social media senator. And, I was really happy that a small town in Appalachia was able to get the license and put together the TEDx talk. And it was a great experience until afterwards. The camera crew there said, well, Crystal, JD Vance funded this. And I thought they were joking because I'm really part of a group of loud Appalachians that speak, against the narrative that he's projecting out there. And it's true. So I did a TEDx that was funded by JD Vance as social media senator. And if that's not the most political thing, I don't know what is. But what I learned from that experience was that JD had a tremendous success with a book, and he made lots of money. And one of the challenges that I see in this region, which will kind of segue into to the next question, is, we are constantly pigeoned, or we're put in a category of poor. Constantly. We're 49th of this, we're the poorest of this, we're always losing. And so I think that psychologically, mentally, there is a culture that has a fear of abundance. And JD sort of represents sort of the anti-Appalachian, don't promote yourself, and anyway, I could go on and on about JD Vance. I don't want to get fired up about that, but I'd suggest take a peek at Appalachian Reckoning. And, you know, I had to really think about what he was doing in Appalachia with his startup. It's called App Harvest. And, you know, I think that, you know, it's questionable, you know, who that will benefit. But the idea of bringing venture capital into Appalachia is necessary. So, and let's see here. I have a question about how to build alliances and cultural connections between Appalachia and pro-union people in coastal U.S. cities and internationally. Well, you know, union people are good people, and and if they can find each other, they can always find a commonality. I think what these ideas in RadicalxChange, they have to be communicated to the region in ways that connect with them. So we're very familiar with the narratives of environmentalism, you know, sort of the same problems that we keep discussing. As I mentioned, the teachers' strike that just recently happened, and you know, that was a revitalization of the power of unions, the power of people, and I think that, you know, RadicalxChange in its ideas or in how to get Appalachia into this conversation, you know, requires making a connection, requires making it relevant for the people of this region. You know, I'm talking about technology when, you know, the majority of people, or you know, that don't have connection, so they don't have broadband. So, but I think that it's an important. It's one way. The union system and the union coalition is one way. I'm most impressed with what a local politician, a real politician, Stephen Smith did with the West Virginia Can't Wait campaign, which he decided to build a grassroots coalition. He ran for governor, he lost the primary, but you know, he built a grassroots coalition, hand to hand, door to door, building relationships, talking to people, explaining these ideas in a very personal way, and it's working. So I think that it's in my mind, it's how to make things happen. It's very grassroots, very hand to hand, person to person, community to community, church to church kind of thing, mixed with how do we meet people on social media and in tech, you know, in virtual spaces. So another question from the famous anonymous: how do we organize against Facebook? Well, gosh. You know, you just quit. I don't know. It's just how I feel about it. I've found a great relief in my life when I decided to take Jaron Lanier's advice and delete my socials. So, like I said, I am on other platforms, but I found Facebook to be extremely annoying, and I'm happy not to have a residency there. So, I think that's all the questions that I have, and that's all. All right, thank you.